This is an intro that I've been holding on to for the last few weeks, but we had to switch it up with the Marcus episode. So now I can do this. Chris,
Julio,
after 6 years of terrorizing the country, George Springer has left the Astros.
it's about goddamn
6
time.
years of terror is finally over. Yeah, something else happened too for somebody who's been along for a long time, but I'm not really sure. But anyways, hello everybody.
That.
Yeah. Welcome to this week's edition of the Town Tailgate. I am one of your hosts here, Julio Reynoso, with my great pal, Chris Magical. And Chris, you got something pretty cool looking over your left shoulder there. What's that?
I do. If our YouTube viewers are watching right now, you can see there is a cool little graphic going on in this building behind me. That's because I am coming to you live from the Super Bowl. I am at the Super Bowl this weekend. I am in Tampa right now. I am here for work, covering it, and it's pretty fucking awesome, and it's pretty exciting, and you know, it's definitely a dream. When you're a kid, you always dream to go to the Super Bowl, but you never actually think that you're going to be there. Especially when you're an adult, you're like, oh, there's no way I can fucking afford to take the Super Bowl. But when your work pays for you to go to the Super Bowl, that's how you get to go. So. Yeah, that's where I am. I'm here. I'm in Tampa. I thought it was a cool little graphic outside my window, so I thought I'd throw that on for.
Oh, there he is. There goes TB.
Yeah, there's Tom Brady right now. So yeah, this is a special Super Bowl episode of Town Tailgate this week.
Yeah. So is this your first time in a host city?
What do you mean?
Because fun fact, I was actually in San Diego for the Raiders Super Bowl in 2003.
Oh, I did not know that. You didn't go to the game, though. You were just in the city?
Yeah, so my dad was a season ticket holder for about 15 years when they first came back from LA, and then Jamarcus happened and he just stopped.
Yeah, I would too.
But he was able to get Super Bowl tickets, so we went down as a family, and then him and my brother Mondo went.
Yeah.
And didn't go well.
No.
If we know that. But it was cool. I was actually able to walk around the gas lamp, and I got to see all the fan experience stuff. So it's like something I vividly remember as a kid.
Yeah. So
and
the NFL
to this day I was gonna say
go ahead.
I still hold the grudge because I went to Chico. So I went to almost every game that season with my dad, except for one game. And every game we went to together, the Raiders won.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yo, we lost because I wasn't there, man.
Were you mad at your dad that he picked your brother and not you to go to the game?
No, I wasn't really too upset because my brother's Mondo. I don't know. You may have met him once or twice. Mondo's the biggest Raider fan I know. He's got a Raider tattoo and all that shit.
Yeah.
So like I understood he was away from home in Chico and he got to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm just saying they would have won if I would have been there.
Yeah, I mean I've never been to any form of a championship game, to be honest with you, except for or been in the city for one, except for the World Baseball Classic. But I don't think that has the hype quite that a Super Bowl or a World Series or an NBA Finals has. But this is my first one, and I was talking to my uncle about it earlier. Like, you know, they typically do like the NFL experience, which is like a carnival, for lack of a better word. It's just like an outdoor festival that goes on the days prior. And I wasn't sure if they're going to have one, but they do. They have one here, but it's just more spread out. And they only let a certain amount of people at certain locations of it. So it's like along the river in Tampa. And there's like 4 different places where you can go get the NFL experience, so that they don't have too many people in one place. But it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of people here. That's another thing I was a little surprised about. There is a lot of people here, and a lot of people. I was having like a couple of drinks and getting some dinner down the street at a pub last night, and there's a lot of people there just meeting people and overhearing people talking about it who are here and have no intention on actually going to the Super Bowl. They just want to be here. So it's like, it's pretty crazy how the world reacts in that way, how they still want to come here, even though COVID's going on and it's super dangerous, and like be amongst all these people. They just like don't give a fuck. And I don't know. It's just really weird. Yeah, I mean, it is Florida, so I shouldn't expect anything different. But like, there's people from around the country that are here. Like, there's people. What's up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's people from like I saw
no, I
Browns
was saying
fans.
just Florida, but go on.
Yeah, I saw there's Browns fans here like earlier today. There was like Atlanta Falcons fans. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. And I was thinking about the Browns fans earlier when I was walking by them. I'm like, I wonder if they bought their tickets as soon as the regular season was over and were like so hyped up. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to buy my tickets. And then when they lost in the divisional round, they're just like, fuck it. Let's just still go anyway.
I mean, as scary as Florida is right now, I mean, it still might be better than a winter in Ohio. So before we jump in, we got to do our typical little mini conversations. Off-season talk. What have you been watching, man? What's anything you've wanted to watch? Recommend to the listeners?
You want to do this before? You don't want to do this at the end?
Yeah, because there's some stuff that's sentimental that I think we want to talk a little bit more about at the end of the show. So let's just start off here. I'll tell you straight up. I'll lead off. I've been watching a lot of movies lately.
Okay.
But
what movie are you on right now?
Promising Young Woman.
What movie number are you on right now?
Oh yeah. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, there's I'm keeping a running tab of all the movies I've watched during COVID. I'm at 70.
70. God damn. Well done, Julio.
Yeah. But the movie we watched last weekend was Promising Young Woman.
Okay.
And
who's in that?
It's Carey Mulligan.
Okay.
It's probably going to get nominated for Best Picture. She's probably going to get nominated for Best Actress. Basic premise: she plays a woman whose best friend was sexually assaulted, and she pretty much goes on a revenge against the men who try to do wrong to women in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's super tense.
Interesting.
Highly recommend. It is a tough movie to watch at parts. It's I think it's probably even tougher for women to watch, but I think it's like a fantastic movie. Highly recommend. Right now you have to rent it to watch it. So I paid like $20 to watch it, but it was like totally worth it. 10 out of 10 recommend.
So something interesting about this director, Emerald Fennell, she's never directed before. This is her directorial debut. She was an actress before. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about actor directors, maybe because personal experiences working with them. But yeah, I'm sure it's pretty good. I also have mixed feelings about Carey Mulligan. I've never been a big fan of hers, but I've also never seen a role that quite like gives her a chance to show her stuff, for lack of a better word. For me,
so you would say her roles you would say you would call a mulligan on it.
Sure.
Right. Go on.
I mean, for me, it's just been right now we are in the heat of college basketball. So it's been a lot of college hoops and also NBA to keep up on my NBA podcasting because I love the NBA, but a lot of college hoops, and there's college hoops all day, every day. So that's pretty much the main thing I've been watching. Not been diving into a lot of TV shows or movies, especially with March Madness in a month. I mean, Julio knows this, but for the listeners, I'm a huge college hoops fan. Not a lot of people are college hoops fans, but if you want to talk to me about college basketball, I love it. You could tweet me. And yeah, I'm just trying to keep up on that. And there's so many games that that's kind of where I've been spending my free time. Also, online gambling while I do it is one of my favorite things in the world, especially having like sitting
10
in
out
my
of 10. Yep.
Sitting in my living room with 3 TVs on the wall. It's literally like I have my own sports book in my apartment because I can just make bets while I watch on my phone. It's great. That's been my main hobby lately. We should jump into baseball though. So let's do
online gambling. Yeah, exactly. This is a baseball podcast. Before I jump into, don't forget, please like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're not subscribing to our podcast through Apple or Spotify, please do so and follow us on Twitter. But let's kick it off with the big three. And holy shit, Chris, the Hall of Fame was a disaster. We have nobody going into the Hall of Fame this year. This is the first time, I believe, since 2013. I'm going to do a fact check, but go ahead and lead it off, man. What the hell?
I think my biggest issue with the Hall of Fame, because like we talked about it beforehand, like we said that there's at least 3 candidates that we felt like were pretty solid picks that were, in our opinion, shoo-ins, but maybe for the casual baseball fan don't agree because they don't. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't watch them. I don't know. Like Scott Rowland, Torrey Hunter, and Curt Schilling. My issue with the Baseball Hall of Fame is, when did it become the morality Hall of Fame? I don't understand why that is such an important thing. And I know a lot of listeners are probably saying like, Chris, you're you're contradicting yourself. Like, you have your very clear stance on steroids. Well, steroids is a little bit different because that is actually a rule of baseball, and certain people blatantly broke that rule while playing the game while playing in Major League Baseball in the league. Say what you want about Curt Schilling and his craziness. The guy is batshit crazy. He's got clearly a lot of very interesting issues that he does not quite understand. I won't even get into them. Transgender, his strong stance against it, that's one of them. But this is the Baseball Hall of Fame. This isn't the Good Person Hall of Fame. So like, why is that weighing in on whether he gets in there or not? Because if you look at his numbers, look at his Baseball Reference, it shouldn't even be a question. The guy was one of the best pitchers of his era. Him and Randy Johnson single-handedly won a World Series against the greatest team of that era. Yes, I said that right. 2 pitchers single-handedly won that World Series for the Diamondbacks back in 2001. It's just, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And Buster Olney made some comments on SportsCenter last week, saying kind of putting the blame on the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame committee, saying that it's their fault for putting the pressure on the writers to be the ones who make the decision and have to decide whether morally they want to use their vote to put morals. You get what I'm saying? Like, they want to put ethics into deciding if they want to vote them in or not.
Oh yeah.
And that's a bunch of crock shit. And I'm sorry, I love you, Buster Olney, but that is just a scapegoat bullshit excuse. Because you made the decision. It shouldn't be up to the Hall of Fame on deciding who gets on the ballot and who they think is like the right person to be on the ballot. If you played in Major League Baseball, you have a right to be on that ballot. And if you're going to be the ones voting people in as the writers, I don't understand why. I don't know. Everything about it was, when I heard that, I think it was on Mike Greenberg's radio show. When I heard that like clip, it pissed me off, the fact that he had the balls to do that, you know?
I think the one thing we've pretty much realized, look, I think we're both in the same boat where Curt Schilling's a huge piece of shit. Not only because some of the things he has said about the transgender community, some of his wild conspiracy theories he's put out there. You also have to remember that he bankrupted a video game company because he wanted to make a video game. Yep. And he lost a lot of people a lot of money and their jobs. But at the end of the day, yeah, he won a World Series. He took out the Yankees that year. And let's not forget, 2004, he took out the Yankees again with the Red Sox. The bloody sock game. Like, the guy's legendary and he should be in. I hope he gets in, but just don't let him talk if that's the case. The weird thing that's kind of really bugging me about this whole situation is we forget, or I would say just the average baseball fan or whatever forgets that the Cooperstown is not a MLB organization. This is pretty much a fan club of baseball kind of thing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it goes down to the writers, and it's kind of dumb. I don't think the writers are giving too much power. We've kind of seen what's been going on over the last 5-6 years, really, about like how much power baseball media has had when it comes to labor negotiations. We saw it happen last year. How much power they have when it comes to who's in, who's out, kind of thing, and it's starting to get a little ridiculous. If people want to hold Curt Schilling accountable for his actions as a person, I get it. I wouldn't do it because there's worse people in the Hall of Fame. Ty Cobb, looking at you.
Yeah, what the fuck? The dude
but I
killed
get
someone, and he's in the fucking Hall of Fame. The dude killed someone.
Yeah. We don't even know all the full shit that went down like in the early 1900s with those players, like like in segregation times and all that. We don't even know. Dude, Scott Rowland was arguably the best third baseman of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like the only people you could put ahead of him, arguably, would be A-Rod, who was not a full-time third baseman that whole time during the decade.
I would argue, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see. When he got traded to the Yankees in 2004 is when so he was a third baseman majority of the decade, but because he went in 2004 to the Yankees. But still, Scott Rowland, 7-time Gold Glove winner, or 7-time All-Star, or 8-time Gold Glove winner. He won the World Series in 2006. Career numbers, 316 home runs. I just had the career batting average, 281 like batting average, dude. And he was a part of an awesome Cardinals team in 2006 that won the World Series.
Yeah.
I truly don't understand what the parameters are at these days because, well, like we're going to be in a lull for a little bit. If you got to be real, like if you look at the next few, I think we talked about this last podcast. We're going to be on a bit of a dry spell because of steroids. Next guy who's coming up next year who should have been a lock, but is probably not going to be is David Ortiz because of steroids.
Yeah.
And this is the time where it's like somebody like Scott Rowland or somebody like Torrey Hunter, like they do deserve to get it, man. Like those guys were revolutionary what we did. Like how many times we probably hated Torrey Hunter when he was because he terrorized the A's with the Twins and
he would constantly
Angels,
rob our guys of home runs. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many times would you be like playing like pickup baseball with your friends at the yard and you'd be like, oh, Rob home run, Torrey Hunter. Like the dude was revolutionary. And it's just, we've talked about this before too. Baseball, because of Cooperstown being around so long, it just seems so much harder to get into the Hall of Fame when it shouldn't be compared to other sports.
Especially basketball. I don't agree with you on that one. I think that the writers, in my opinion, should be the ones voting on awards and voting on Hall of Fame, because no one knows baseball and the ins and outs of it and the entire league as a whole more than people who cover it for a living. They get paid to inform the public on it. So like if we did fan voting, that would be the most lopsided. I mean, look at the All-Star voting this year for the NBA. We were just talking about it. Like Klay Thompson's getting votes. He hasn't stepped on a court yet. Like, like that would be a disservice. Coaches and retired players would be biased. Owners would be biased. Like there really is no better people than the writers. But I think my way to solve this problem is start taking away Hall of Fame votes from people. Like you should have an expiration date. If you've had a Hall of Fame vote for 40 years, like it's gotta go. And it should go to a younger audience to try and like get a different perspective.
Go to us. What's up? I'll take a Hall of Fame vote, dude.
And I know this podcast is probably starting to become the like okay boomer podcast because we constantly shit on them, but like it's beginning to be a problem. Like I mean, and why shouldn't younger baseball journalists have a say in what happens? Like I know like a lot of people don't even get that vote until they're in until they're like 45, and by the time they're like their heroes of their childhood have made it onto the ballot, like they're either long gone, either they're out and they're not on the ballot, or they're already in. So it's like, why can't those guys have a say? Like, I don't know. It baffles my mind. The whole system is just completely out of whack. Or let those guys still have a ballot, the older people, and just add like 1,000 more ballots and get more writers in there to kind of balance it out more. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, man. Like the whole the system of getting the analytics in. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me.
We'll wrap this up in a moment. But if they really want to like be better at this, I think they need to take a page from the Oscars, which is when Oscars a few years ago, they had that whole movement with hashtag Oscars so white. And what they did is they really diverse their voting pool.
Yeah.
If baseball truly thinks that this is an issue, and I think amongst people like us, we do think it is, whether they think so or not, they should do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other problems going on in the game right now that I feel like that's kind of in the back burner.
Yeah,
but
true.
We'll see. Speaking of other baseball problems, there is a couple union stuff that we should probably know about if you haven't heard already. The MLB union rejected a deal which included universal DH as well as an expanded playoff for the formal season. And as of a couple days ago, they also rejected a proposal to delay the season by a month. This was actually a pretty interesting one. If you haven't heard too much,
well, it also should be noted, Julio, that this isn't like it's done, like it's completely there's no discussion. It's still being negotiated.
Fluid.
And MLB made an offer to the Players Association. Those were the main things in that offer, and the Players Association denied it, basically. Yeah.
So this one's a little interesting, though, with the month delay, because this was actually came down from the Biden administration, because they're like, hey, they were only going to lose 8 games, and they're like, you're going to get full pay and everything. From what it sounds like is they just want to wait a little bit, and that point, the players will be able to get vaccinated, and then you just don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah.
And the player shot it down. So we've known this was going to be messy.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for the last, how many months this podcast have we doing this now? Like 7 months.
Yeah.
And it's going to build up to something worse, because in reality, if this is what's being brought to the table, then why wouldn't you just lose 8 games so you can get the league vaccinated and you just don't even have to worry about this for the rest of the year kind of thing? How do you feel about all this, though?
I don't know. I think this is more or less of the beginning to what's going to be a pretty ugly negotiation next offseason. And I'm with the players for standing their ground, but I think these are just such important things that have really helped the game last year with the universal DH and the expanded playoffs. So I get what they're doing. It's a good strategy, but I do hope that these things eventually do end up as like permanent like changes, because I had so much fun watching the wild card round last year. So I don't know. We'll see. It's very fluid. I don't know. I think it kind of leads us to our next thing, though. The Cactus League, they asked for the start of spring training to be delayed because of COVID, because the cases are going up, and honestly, like Arizona. So I saw that Jeff Passan tweeted something about in regards to this when the governor of Arizona first came out and said, like, we don't want like more people here, and he was like, you have people at like hockey games, at like Coyote games, but you don't but you draw the line with allowing attendance at baseball games. Well, it's a little bit different because it's like a tourist event. People are coming from all over the country to Arizona to watch spring training, to watch their teams, get to know their prospects. So you're potentially bringing COVID cases from around the country into your state, and it could potentially blow that up. Whereas a Coyotes NHL game, you're only allowing fans in the area into your game. So it's I don't know. It's a lot different. Sorry, Jeff. We love you, but that was a pretty stupid thing to tweet. You should have put more thought into it. And anyway, it was denied, so it doesn't matter. Arizona's going to have to figure it out, and I imagine that it's a huge money maker for them. Probably drives most of their economy for the year. So I can't imagine them canceling it and not allowing fans. They're probably just going to bowl ahead through it and just deal with the consequences afterward, right? I mean, how do you see that panning out?
Yeah, it's interesting because we're kind of seeing more or less the same thing. Because look, in reality, baseball needs it. We need dudes to like get in shape, get ready to play, kind of thing. And you can make some extra money out of it. Why not? It's kind of the same thing that's happening with the Olympics. There's been a lot of rumors going around that they just straight up might cancel the Tokyo Olympics, because in reality, it's about the competition. It's about just seeing the best in the world at what they do, but also it's a huge revenue generator for the host country. So in Tokyo, same situation happening right now. What's the point if you can't make money off of all the ticket prices? And we've both been to spring training a bunch of times. We know how expensive tickets can be, especially if it's going to be a marquee team like the Cubs or the Dodgers.
Unless you want to die out in the grass in the sun and get heat stroke, you want to pay for nicer tickets so you can sit in the shade.
Yeah, exactly. So all this is so fluid. What's going to be happening if you're kind of keeping up with how COVID numbers are actually doing? There's actually was a number that came out that there is actually more people vaccinated than new reported cases as of like the last few days. So vaccination is actually, just reading some of the numbers, they're actually doing way better than they thought they would be.
Well, it depends on the area, Julio. Arizona is doing really well, but Northern California is it's bad. My parents just got approved for vaccination, and they're well over 65.
Oh, in terms of getting it,
Yeah. And then but Southern California is doing great. Like it was 3 weeks ago that they started allowing people over 65 to get it. So it's like, it really depends on the area. I don't know why the distribution's so bad in certain places, but I think Arizona is doing really good though. So I would think that they would be able to get it down enough by the time they have it, they would, it wouldn't be too big of an issue. Maybe 75% capacity at those stadiums. I don't know.
We'll see. It's funny that you say that, because we're going to talk a little bit more about the Northern California COVID vaccine stuff. All this stuff is really fluid. We're going to jump into our hot stove talk. But before we do, we got to wish a happy retirement from, honestly, this is probably one of my favorite non-Oakland A, Dustin Pedroia, the pride of Woodland, California. Red Sox great, 4-time All-Star, 2-time world champ, and 2008 MVP, the Laser Show. Retired at the age of 37. Northern California kid, man. It was so hard not to root for him, especially just how he played how he played second. He was like he was the best second baseman for scrappy as shit, dude. Like, you could not love Dustin Pedroia.
He was MVP the year 2007 championship, right? Was it that
2008? I have it in front of me.
Oh, so the year after. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, because towards the back end of his career, just injuries really halted him, because he was on pace to be a Hall of Fame second baseman.
Yeah.
There's a chance that he still could get him if you kind of put him up against like.
I was just about to ask you that. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Because if he was, it'll be interesting, because there's not, if you look at the second basemen who have won an MVP, it's a pretty limited list. You're going to look at like Altuve, Ryan Sandberg, off the top of my head. It's a really, really, really small list. It's pretty exclusive.
Like Chase Utley's not.
I think he has a shot.
I don't think. But Chase Utley, I don't think he's eligible yet, though. So I think that's part of it.
No, Chase Utley. I think he's going to be up, because when did he retire? He's like in another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Chase Utley may have a good chance. That's a good comparison player, but the second base position isn't a huge. If not compared to like a first baseman or a shortstop when it comes to like the mountain you have to climb to get in. But he could get in. I don't know how you feel about it.
After seeing like Scott Rowland not get in, I don't think that he's getting in. Like, I would be shocked. It sucks, because he's got an MVP, and he was probably he was the best second baseman in all of baseball for I don't know, like a 6-year span there, and then injuries really just tore him down. But he was such a key piece, and even like his later years in those, like the 2012 was it 12 or 13 championship,
2013 was when they
13. He was a big piece, like as a leader in that clubhouse for that championship. But yeah, I don't think he gets in. Yeah.
All right, so I have it in front of me. There's wow. He is only there's only 5 second basemen in the American League to win MVP. Mm-hmm. Charlie Gehringer, he was in the Tigers in 1937. Joe Gordon in 1942.
I'll say Joe Morgan.
Fox,
Joe Morgan wasn't in the AL.
Yeah. And then in the NL, it's a little more consistent. So Joe Morgan's won it twice. Frankie Fitch from the Cardinals in the 1930s, Jackie Robinson, Ryan Sandberg. And then another person I think should get in, Jeff Kent, won in 2000. It'll be interesting. He's not a first ballot. But
no, definitely not.
I could see, because he is a Red Sox, because he has those 2 titles, the MVPs, and like the first half of his career, he was on the level. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I hope so. He was always somebody I really liked. I think he was probably one of the more lovable players in baseball. So fingers crossed. Yeah. Now, dude, I don't know. Oh, shit, dude, I'm getting hot. You feel that?
You're so
stove, baby. The hot stove.
You're like, you just, nothing but dad jokes come out of you, dude.
The hot stove has been torching the last few weeks.
And we decided. Can we just warn the fans right now? This is a long list because we didn't do it at the last podcast. We talked about Marcus all the time. We've got a lot of activity in the free agent market, so we got to get through a lot. Heads up.
So we're dividing this into a few sectors. One is just going to be like, oh shit, that happened. The Nolan Arenado trade. We'll get our thoughts in a second. Yeah. We're going to be talking about trades that are relevant to the A's or acquisitions that are relevant to the A's, which are in division, potential guys that A's could have gone after, and then competitors in the AL, and then best of the rest. We're just going to breeze through those. Not really going to say much. That they don't, just to kind of let you know if you missed out on it. But yeah, holy shit. Nolan Arenado traded to Nolan Arenado and $50 million traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for a batch of prospects. And the prospects were not great. I thought for sure Matt Carpenter would have been in the deal because he's been more or less the everyday third baseman over there. But he was not. So now you have an infield consisting of Paul DeJong, Nolan Arenado, and Paul Goldschmidt at first. Holy shit, they did that.
Let's approach this from the Colorado Rockies standpoint first. Let's call this what it is. It's a payroll dump. They saw. Yes. I mean, I don't know exactly what the Rockies owners' financial situation is, but I would imagine it's not very good because there's been talk of them moving Arenado for the past couple of years after he signed this massive contract. And I think he signed it last offseason. They probably are like, oh my God, it's going to get a bunch of people in our stands. No one was in the stands last year. Maybe he lost money on the GameStop situation. Who knows? I'm just kidding. But it's simple as that. He just doesn't want this money on his books. So he did whatever he could to get rid of it. It's not going to be very popular in Colorado, but let's be honest, Colorado's not really a baseball state anyway. So at the end of the day, I'm shrugging my shoulders for those of you who aren't watching the YouTube.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, so to kind of go for the Rockies perspective a little bit more, Trevor Story is going to be a free agent in the coming off season.
Yeah. Very stacked shortstop market next off season.
Yeah. Which is, I think we talked about in the last pod. I was so filled with rage. I can't remember what we even talked about, but, so some speculations like, okay, they're going to use that money for Story, but in reality, I don't think they are. I think owners just saw the losses that they got from the last season. They saw that looking at what the Dodgers and the Padres were, what they had done in this offseason. And they're like, well, there's no point. The one thing I'm a little concerned about, and there's another trade that happened earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like a lot of these guys who have been traded, these big names who have been traded, Francisco Lindor, thank you. That thought of it. Thank you, Julio. You're welcome, Julio. The returns have not been great.
Yeah.
If you look at the Mookie Betts deal last year, who's the prized possession? Alex Verdugo. Alex Verdugo is really good, and I think he has potential to be an all-star outfielder for the Red Sox. And that, even though like that was also a salary dump, Verdugo is going to be legit. There's nobody that caliber of talent that the Rockies acquired, and the same thing with Cleveland when they trade Lindor. It's a little concerning as like a casual fan of somebody who we've been through so much bullshit this last month with our organization. It's scary of what's going to be happening when pretty much everybody's going to get traded to a powerhouse or to the East Coast. That's my biggest concern. But in terms of like, okay, the Cardinals' perspective, I don't think it makes them that much better. Obviously, the infield defense.
In what way does it not make them that much better?
Well, there was actually like a FanGraph stat that they still projected the Cardinals to be about a 500 team still. Obviously, that infield is going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They had an excellent defensive infield. You're going to have a ton of pop in the lineup. There's still going to be some questions about the rotation. Jack Flaherty was excellent last year, but Carlos Martinez is coming back from an injury. They brought back Adam Wainwright on a 1-year deal, who was surprisingly pretty good. But again, last year was such a small sample size. You can't really talk too much about it. They're probably going to still win the division just because, the Cubs look like they're kind of not going to do much this year. There's still talks of Chris Bryant getting traded. The Brewers actually made a decent deal. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. They might be a pretty good competitor. The Pirates are, for lack of better words, and the Reds
are tanking, or Reds
are going to lose their ace. Yeah. The Reds looks like they're trying to like give up after.
That's what I was going to say, Julio. Like that, so like their division, they're going to play 60% of their games in their division. Like their division fucking sucks. They're just going to fucking stack up wins that way. So I don't agree with that FanGraph stat at all.
But the numbers.
As long as you can pound the ball out of the park, you can overcome your shitty pitching against their also shitty pitching. Like I'm just trying to think also like big pitchers in that division, and Flaherty's the only one that really comes to mind. Kyle Hendricks maybe.
Oh, no, Kyle.
Exactly.
Sorry, Kyle Hendricks, but I wouldn't say big.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, oh my god, I'm totally spaced out. Who are the two starters for the Brewers? They were on Mason's fantasy team last year, and they were really good. I can't. Oh my.
Yeah. I'm totally blanking too. Anyway, they're not better than Jack Flaherty though.
Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff was awesome last year.
Yeah. He had a breakout year for sure.
And then Corbin Burns was awesome. I think the Brewers are, to me, might be the division favorites. But we'll see. We're going to talk a little bit more about them later when it comes to other moves. But let's jump right in to some stuff that's more relevant for the A's, because at the end of the day, guess what? This is an A's podcast. Let's talk about the guys who are just down the road, about 40 minutes south from us, in the California Angels of Anaheim, of Los Angeles, of Disneyland, or whatever the hell you want to call them. Made a couple 1-year deals of Orange, of Fullerton, of Disneyland.
Because literally the stadium is, I think the stadium is actually technically it might technically be in Anaheim, but right across the street is Orange.
It's in the, as an Anaheim resident of 3 years, it's actually in the Platinum Triangle of Anaheim.
Got it.
You're welcome. Anyways, that stadium sucks. They made a couple pitching acquisitions. They signed Jose Quintana from the Chicago Cubs and Alex Cobb to a 1-year deal. Alex Cobb was on the Orioles to 1-year deal. And then just literally like an hour before we started this podcast, they were made Fowler from the Cardinals. This is pretty much going to be a salary dump for the Cards. They just picked up this huge contract with Arenado for a player to be named later. Here's an interesting thing that really stood out for this trade. What's the point? It shows that the Angels aren't ready for Joe Adell to be a full-time outfielder for them. We talked about him last summer, and he kind of panned out. But here's something to think about, Chris. All these guys that they've picked up this offseason, so Dexter Fowler, Alex Cobb, Jose Iglesias, Rafael Iglesias, Jose Quintana, they're all one-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
They all have expiring contracts. So pretty much going forward, the only big guys they have on long-term deals are going to be Rendon, Trout, Upton, Ohtani.
Oh, Upton. Well, Ohtani's on a kind of it's not technically a rookie deal, but he's not getting paid a shit ton of money. It's like a Stephen Piscotty deal. It's like a fair veteran deal.
Yeah. So this is honestly, I think this is a smart move. I think this is a smart move for the Angels because it's like, cool, let's see if you can squeeze whatever juice you have out of Fowler left. If there's nothing there, then cool, just let him walk, and then you have your future right fielder, and then now you're going to have all this extra money to spend on this crazy potential free agent options in the offseason.
Well, Julio, does it make them better? Because I would say this was pretty in classic Angels form, other than like the random massive deals that they signed, like Rendon. It's pretty underwhelming signings. Look, let me phrase this a little bit differently too. The Astros got worse again this offseason. The A's got worse. Are the Angels still? With that being said, are the Angels? Would you say they're better than those two teams? Do you think they have a shot beating them for the division? I would still say no.
Honestly, no.
Yeah,
it's the old.
That's how underwhelming those signings are. That's how underwhelming they are. The two top teams in the division got worse, and yet the Angels still aren't good enough.
It's the old quote from 10 Things I Hate About You. I know you can be underwhelmed. I know you can be overwhelmed. But can you just be whelmed?
It's a great quote.
I think you can in France. And also, we're not going to talk too much about it because honestly, fuck him. But the whole Mickey Callaway situation, he is the Angels pitching coach. He was the manager for the Mets, and then he was a pitching coach for the Cleveland. He's in a huge hot water over some sexual assault allegations. The team has decided, instead of firing him because he didn't say he did it, he technically can't get fired, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, he was something that he's a good pitching coach, and I think he could have done something with these guys, but honestly, he's probably not going to be around when spring training comes around because, he's a piece of shit. And we saw how Dylan Bundy actually had a pretty good year last year. They're just, they're not there yet. They're not going to be, their offense, I think, it's going to win them games. I think they're still going to be a huge pester, but the rotation's not there. They're not going to be there unless they can pull a fucking rabbit out of the hat and get Trevor Bauer, and it's probably not going to happen. They're not going to be there.
To be honest with you, this doesn't deserve any more conversation. It's just underwhelming.
Anaheim wants to do something right. Just get people vaccinated and reopen Disneyland, please. All right. Now let's go to our really hated rivals, the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros, even though they lost George Springer, we're going to talk a little bit more about him later. They did retain Michael Brantley, who pulled an okie doke on the Blue Jays, and they originally announced that he was signing over there, and then it was retracted. He is staying in Houston, 2-year, $32 million deal. The outfield will now be Cole Tucker, who was awesome last year for them, Michael Brantley, and then they actually signed Steven Souza Jr. to a minor league deal to see if he can make the roster. Brantley was awesome last year.
He was still arguably good. Looks like he didn't require cheating to be a successful baseball player. One of the few on that team.
He was arguably like the most consistent offensive player the whole season for them. But like you said, they're getting worse. They got worse this past offseason.
Yeah, and you hinted to it already. We're going to tell you why they got worse.
Going to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Michael Brantley will, and if you think about it, the offense is still going to be great. Oh my God. Well, I'm totally spacing on the rookie from a couple years ago, the DH. He was out all last season.
At the end of the day, the guy's a DH though. So how much impact does he have? Because he doesn't impact the
American
team
League
on both sides. But he doesn't impact on both sides of the field. I get what you're saying, but like, yeah. I forgot his name too. I'm totally blanking on all these names today. I don't know why. He's Cuban, right?
Yordan Alvarez. He's actually a left fielder. Yordan Alvarez.
But no, but he DH'd for him that year. He's a left fielder, but he DH'd for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting our like baseball reference exercises back in again. We're kind of regaining all this stuff. So sometimes we might be spacing a little bit. So that was with our division in the West. Seattle probably they caught a fish in like Pike's Market or something or whatever. And then the Rangers are the Rangers. Now, a couple potential targets. We know that we've been heartbroken and we lost our mid-infield with Marcus going to Toronto, as well as Tommy LaStella crossing the bridge.
I feel like these were both pipe dreams, by the way. Just want to throw it out there before we start.
Yeah, these are a couple of pipe dreams, but these are something that we could have seen as something potentially happening. One is Colton Wong, who former St. Louis Cardinal. He is a defensive stud at second base for the Cardinals. Actually went to their rival with the Milwaukee Brewers, a 2-year, $18 million deal. And then our former Angel, Geraldson Simmons, who was kind of somebody who's rumored to Oakland before John Fisher decided, hey, I'm not spending any money at all this offseason, and I'm not paying more than $3 million for any player. He signed a 1-year deal to go to Minnesota and as their shortstop every day for $10.5 million. God, what the hell are we going to do? It's starting to seem more and more likely we're staying in-house.
Yeah, dude. I mean, after seeing how much money they were willing to spend and seeing that they didn't even reach out to Marcus had to reach out to them. Like I said last podcast, the writing's on the wall. It's going to be in-house shit, and we're still a good baseball team, but we're not going to be as good as we were last year. That's the unfortunate reality. But
yeah,
I mean, Wong was definitely a pipe dream. I think that he was going to get the money that he got anywhere he went. Because again, defensive stud, but also consistent bat. He always hits around 270 with about 15 plus home runs, and he can steal bases. Usually gets like 25 stolen bases a year. So and a great pickup for the Brewers. They could use some help after losing another mind blank, but they lost their second baseman 2 years ago, and you could tell they were not filling that hole. Yeah, I mean, Brewers are still good. I mean, they were a good team beforehand, so this just makes them a little bit better.
I think they're going to be the sleeper of the National League.
Can you call them a sleeper when they went to the NLCS 2 years ago?
I mean, well, yes, for the sake of when you're going to think of the National League this year, when you think about the heavy hitters, you're going to think Dodgers, Padres, Braves, and then probably the Mets. Those are going to be like your 4 teams, and you're not really going to think about anybody. But like, all I'm saying is like, if you're going against a 7-game series and the Brewers are going to throw out their top 2 in the rotation with the back end bullpen of Devin Williams and Josh Hader, like and like with that offense, if Christian Yelich kind of comes back to what he's been, I think that's a pretty scary team to face.
Yeah.
And then the Twins, the Twins with Simmons. This is a really good deal for him. He had an off year last season. We know what he can do defensively. He's arguably the greatest defensive shortstop ever, maybe. But this is a pretty good deal for him. Hopefully. Look it up, man. I'm not wrong. I'm not saying maybe. I would say maybe. But he's up there in terms of like a top 3.
I'm gonna tell Ozzie Smith you said defensive. That, and I'll see what him and the rest of the baseball
Ozzie Smith, if you can find him and tell him, go for it. That'd be great. I'd really appreciate that.
Everybody who's listening to this podcast, tweet at Julio that they're wrong and it's Ozzie Smith, and how dare he?
Well, Ozzie Smith does have the best baseball appearance in The Simpsons because he got lost in another dimension.
Anyway,
but those are some potential targets for the A's. But we're going to jump into some competitors
Oh, and I just want to say,
yes.
This makes the Twins, they're already a good team. They get a better shortstop, but they still won't break their curse, so it doesn't matter. No, losing the first round like they always do.
Nate Peister, if you're listening, I am sorry. My old roommate is a huge Twins fan. But yeah, rest of the competitors, we're gonna stay on Twins talk. We're gonna breeze through these, and we're gonna kind of talk about them as a whole. Twins. This is Twins talk here. We're gonna talk about the Twin Cities. They made a bullpen acquisition. They got Alex Colomé, who is the closer for the White Sox. He signed over there, and then they brought back the boomstick himself, man. Nelson Cruz, come back 1-year deal in the DH. Good stuff. Again, already a pretty good team. They're pretty much going to stay in the path. We're going to talk about our dudes over at the 4-trained Savages. Shout out to the Schlatters. They made a couple big moves themselves. DJ LeMahieu, it's been that long since we recorded this. Felt like this happened like a month ago.
I know.
DJ LeMahieu will be staying in New York, 6 years, $90 million. They also got one pitcher I was kind of hoping the A's would make a run on, which was Corey Kluber. He signed a 1-year, $11 million deal. And they also traded for James Talion from the Pirates because the Pirates are actually like a huge Ponzi scheme and don't actually want to field a competitive baseball team.
No, they're selling off their entire team right now.
Yep. And then let's go ahead and jump over to Boston and talk about Kike Hernandez. Again, somebody else I would have loved the A's to try to go after, but John Fisher doesn't give up.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about spending money. A 2 years, $14 million deal. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to spend $7 million for somebody you could have had at second? Awesome clubhouse presence. Garrett Richards.
He's a little washed, but he's still a solid starting pitcher.
Yeah. 1 year, $10 million deal. And then the extremely rare Yankee Red Sox trade, Adam Ottavino going to Boston. Player to be named later, but huge. I think this is a pretty interesting deal. Ottavino was a pretty great reliever for the Rockies.
Oh yeah, he'll be great.
And then, last but not least, Kirby Yates, the all-star closer for the Padres in 2019, had a injury-plagued year last year. Signed a 1 year, $5.5 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. They also traded for Steven Matz from the New York Mets. And last but not least, the big fish in the pond has finally been caught. George Springer is leaving Houston. 6 years, $150 million deal. I don't know what that is in Canadian currency, but he got paid. Chris, where do you want to start? Got a lot going out here.
Let me just get it out of the way because we don't need to talk too much about it. LeMahieu, we all saw this coming. They were negotiating for a while. He got the money he wanted. Great.
I got to hold on. Before you go ahead of it, I just got to say with that deal, I feel like he got underpaid. $15 million deal. 15 mil a year for arguably the best second baseman in baseball.
He's a little bit older. That's why. He's like, what, 30, 31?
Check that.
Anyway.
Yeah, 30. He's going to be 33, but still.
Yeah,
moving over to DH.
He's a little bit older, so you only want to get you don't want to give him more than 6 years. So I get that.
I'm sure
15 mil a year, and I'm sure it's front ended, so it's probably the later years where it gets less. So it's probably going to be closer to like 18 mil in the first couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it is shocking. But then you see his age, and you're like, okay. Kluber, great signing. I know Rich was pretty underwhelmed by that. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with him. I mean, it's like you have someone better in your rotation right now that's taking that spot. No, your rotation is, but besides Cole, it's pretty right now. You know, like I mean, you could use all the help you can get. To be honest with you, so and Robbie agrees with this. It was so funny because Robbie agreed with us, and then Rich didn't. It was just like so yin and yang.
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah,
it's just to me. I think it's a great deal for the Yankees because it's like, you know.
Yeah,
if you can strike anything that you can get out of him, then hell yeah, dude. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball, 2-time Cy Young winner. But I think this is a bad deal for him because you're trying to rehab your career. You're trying to show that you've still got it. Why would you go to
a hitter's ballpark
nightmare? Yeah, where like I don't think he's the reason why Garrett Cole's still successful over there is because the dude's a strikeout machine. I don't think Kluber has that anymore. He can't even hit the speeds that he hit in 16 and 17. So interesting move on his end. But go
on. Sorry, I have to pull the list back up. Coulomb and Cruz to the Twins. I mean, why not bring back Cruz? He was killing it for you. Coulomb's a solid reliever. I think he was in the top 5 in saves last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but I just
so
thought
funny?
of Coulomb.
Yeah, he was top 5 in saves last year, so why not bring him back?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Kike thing, and you already talked about that, and I commented on it. Like, that sucks. He would have been so great for us, but he's going to be good for them.
Dude,
he'll play He'll play an everyday role with the Red Sox too, which is great for him because he's been deserving of that for a while now.
He was no joke. I think he was probably like my number one option for the A's. Like outside of bringing back La Stella and Marcus, I'm like, dude, I think he would be perfect for that team.
Yeah.
He wasn't cheap, or he was cheap. I thought he could have done it. He would have been a difference maker. I think so. And I think it was something that I've complained about to you, just having this really fun electric player out there. Would have been awesome, but no. He went to Boston, but go
on. Richards, I think he's washed, but he's worth 1 year giving him a shot, so that's good for them. And then I'll finish off with the Jays. The Jays are spending money, and they are making moves this offseason. They're going to give the Yankees a run for their money this year, for sure. I think the Rays, though they just signed, which we'll get into in this next segment, they just signed Chris Archer, who I think is washed at this point. To kind of replace that
Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton, or I mean, I guess you could say
and Blake Snell
role. I still think they're going to be worse because that's 2 huge pitchers in your rotation you just lost, and you're replacing them with someone who has been struggling the past 2.5 seasons. The Jays are going to give the Yankees a run for their money. Are they better than the Yankees yet? I'm not ready to say that, but I think they are definitely a playoff team at this point. They were a playoff team last year, but that was extended playoffs. If they don't extend the playoffs, I think they're still a playoff team.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm excited to when we get closer to the start of the season, we do our preview episodes and stuff. The Jays are no joke. Hyun-Jin Ryu was fantastic last year. Top 3 Cy Young finalists. Bo Bichette was awesome. Teoscar Hernandez was a huge breakthrough for the power. Now you're adding George Springer and Marcus Semien. And then if Kirby Yates can somehow get any of that juice that he had during that 2018-2019 season with the Padres, I think they're going to be contenders to win the American League. There's going to be a lot of questions marked back end rotation. Steven Matz is not really an earth-shattering deal, but if he's like your number 5 pitcher, you're in decent shape. But there's going to be a lot of question marks whether they're going to be playing in Buffalo or Toronto. We still don't know yet. But this is a really exciting team. They're super young. They got some really great veteran presence. I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year. Now it's going to finish off. Looks like the stove is starting to cool down a little bit. Going to bring it down to a simmer. I'm going to go ahead and run through the best of the rest signings. Actually, no, I'm not going to give him the Oakland great status.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No.
Cost us that game.
I'll stop. I'm going to stop myself. John Lester going to the Nationals. 1 year, $5 million deal. And then,
hey, John Lester, you know why you only got $5 million? Because you don't have a pickoff move. Keep going.
Damn. But also, I think this is the most low-key best signing of the offseason. Brad Hand, 1 year, $10.5 million to go to the Nats.
Who was their closer before? I'm trying to think of their World Series year and who
Daniel Hudson
was. Daniel Hudson. I would say Hand is an improvement on that.
Dude, Brad Hand was like the second best reliever in the American League last year, besides Liam. So killer deal. I think the Nats really reloaded this offseason. Really excited for them. Speaking of the National League East, JT Realmuto Your dude from your fantasy team this last year, staying in Philly, 5-year, $115 million deal to be their backstop for the next 5 years. And then they also signed Archie Bradley to a 1-year deal to be their closer. Freddie Galvez, a potential shortstop fill for Marcus, is going to Baltimore for a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. Wilson Ramos, all-star catcher for the Cubs, kind of a shocking deal. He takes a 1-year, $2 million deal.
Yeah, he got underpaid on that one, man. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I read a little piece that I guess he's boys with Miguel Cabrera, and he might have like talked him into coming. So
yeah,
who knows? That could be a great thing. They're a super young team. They got some talented arms coming up. Casey Mize, one of them come to mind. So who knows? That could be a good thing to have that veteran backstop back there for them. World Series champ and the pride of the Bay Area, or the Palo Alto area of the Bay Area, Jock Peterson, signing a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Cubs, pretty much taking the Kyle Schwarber role. They're pretty much the same player. I think he's a little bit faster. He's got a better glove. It's kind of weird, though. The Dodgers
more reliable too.
More reliable. They didn't lose any big names, but they lost a lot of the guys who brought the personality. It's interesting. And then you hinted at it. Chris Archer returns to Tampa. He signs a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. So the Rays definitely won that trade at the end of all this.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, King Felix, our old nemesis, just plowed us year after year. He is signing a 1-year minor league deal with Baltimore. Fingers crossed. Hopefully he can get anything back. It's so much fun to watch him pitch.
Dude, just stay retired. Like, you're a legend. Don't ruin your legacy by doing these minor league deals. Just stay retired, man.
Yeah, he set out last season. He signed a deal with the Braves, but then COVID happened. He set out. So So best of luck to him. But Chris, guess what? This is an A's podcast. And we got some A's news. And we actually have a lot of...
We keep saying that and keep not really talking about the A's. We mention like little tidbits that relate to them, but we haven't talked about them. So maybe we should actually full on talk about them now.
No, we're going to full on talk about them because the rest of the time, if you stuck around for this whole time, bless you. But we actually have a lot of stuff to cover with the A's. First things first, this is a back of house story more so, but the RedBall deal. So RedBall was the how would you describe them? Was it the sports broker firm?
It was like a sports venture capitalist firm that their mission was to purchase sports franchise and be funding and be venture capitalists for specifically sports related businesses. As opposed to like your typical Silicon Valley, like VC firms.
That's right. So one of the main guys in it was Billy Beane. We talked about this a few months ago. There was a plan in place where they were going to be purchasing a part of the Red Sox. And over the last few weeks, the plan fell through, which means Billy's staying. What that means for the future, I think even Bo Mel and a couple other A's beat writers have pointed that he's going to be gone within the next few years because this sounds like this isn't going to be the first time he's going to do it. Mm-hmm. But for the time being, more or less the face of the franchise for the last 20 plus years will be around for the season. So how do you feel, man? It's not maybe the pipe dream is he can get this firm to buy a part of the team, but we'll see.
I expected him to be gone. So the fact that he's going to be here for at least another year is pretty cool. So he said in Tim Kawakami, I think was the one who interviewed him. He said that interview that he, no matter what, he was going to stay on for at least this season. I think because of certain contract agreements that his firm wouldn't completely own the Red Sox this season. So he would be able to manage and stay on as the VP of baseball ops. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if it ever comes out what exactly happened, fell through with the deal. But I am also interested to see if John Fisher continues not spend money like this, and the fan base continues to attack him like we have been, which continue to do so, by the way. Listeners, keep going.
Keep doing it, baby. Yeah, keep going.
Force him to sell. Is Billy Beane's firm going to be interested in buying the A's? I think Joe Lacob is a founder of this firm. Or no, he's not. I think it's Lou Wolf. So that
Oh
would
God,
be worse.
no.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm sure. I don't know if any teams will become available soon. I think probably if the losses keep going down, especially after the pandemic. So yeah, I don't get too attached, but we have his protege in David Forst, so I'm not too worried about it at the moment. And if we continue to not spend money, I'm still going to be frustrated with the team regardless. So it's not going to change much. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, you're right. Lou Wolf is actually on the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billy Beane's a
I know
co-chairman.
Joe Lacob is really good friends with Billy Beane, though.
Interesting. So I'm kind of reading a little bit more about. Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of really weird ties. So Gary Cardinal, he's the other co-chairman with Billy Beane. He actually was a person that founded Yes Network for the Yankees. He also put like a huge investment in Skydance Media. So Skydance film production company, they did like Mission Impossible, Star Trek, the new Top Gun that's coming out. But then also, do you know who the CEOs are of Skydance?
JJ is JJ one or no? JJ's company is.
It's not a film person. I'll tell you that. It's somebody who's a really familiar name to us, and that is one Larry Ellison, former Golden State Warriors owner.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so. Who knows, man? I think this, if they can somehow pull this off of like John Fisher, then great. But honestly, in reality, it's just cool. I think the great thing about Billy is like you see when you're at the games, you see him around.
Yep.
You see him walking around the concourse all the time. You'll see him in the stand. So it's awesome to see him there.
He's the ownership presence, him and Dave Cavill, that John Fisher isn't. Like most people don't even know what John Fisher looks like.
Because he's a bastard. All right. He's probably a nice person, at least.
No, he can go fuck off. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. All right. Not so much of baseball news, but I think this is pertaining to Oakland and the Coliseum itself. So let's talk about it. The Coliseum is actually going to be used as a vaccination site. More so, this is actually a partnership with the Biden administration, as well as, excuse me, with the California government as a mass vaccination site. So they're instead of just doing like their own thing off the side where the organization or the city is doing it, they're actually getting help from the federal government to do it.
Yeah.
Not really much we can talk about, but our friends and family in the East Bay, if you're close enough to Oakland, if you're willing to make that drive and you're eligible to get that vaccine right now, and you're open and you are willing to do it, why not do it at the Coliseum?
What it came down to was when Kamala calls and asks you to do something, you do it, regardless if you're a shitbag or not. John Fisher. When the vice president and hometown hero calls you, you do it. So that's basically what happened, and it's great PR for them. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. Not too much to add to there, but one of our former Oakland great has announced his retirement. Josh Fagley has retired from baseball at the age of 32. If you forgot who Josh Fagley is, one, shame on you.
It's only been a year.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't been gone for that long, guys. But two, Josh was a part of the Jeff Samardzija deal back in 2015 that netted Marcus as well as Chris Bassett. He was a part of the A's organization from 2015 through 2019. And his big significance with the organization, one, he was always around. He was always like the number 2 backstop, doing great stuff. But two, he caught Mike Fiers no-hitter in 2019.
He's also, he was a starting catcher in 2019.
Yes, he was the starting catcher in 2019, and then Sean Murphy kind of came in halfway through the season. He
Yeah,
played
I was a little bit
yeah.
surprised. I guess he must have an injury or something like that.
Yeah. He's turning 33 in about a week. So one, happy early birthday. But two, yeah. Last year he was a free agent. He took a minor league deal with the Cubs. I don't think he
Yeah.
even made it into the bigs. He was DFA'd. Who knows? I could see him. He was around the organization for a long time. He had a lot of great reviews. I could see him maybe becoming a part of minor league and coaching if he's open to it.
Yeah.
But it's actually, before we jump into it, it's something that I wanted to talk to about, and I didn't have it written down. But there was this article going around about the depth, like each position depth for the A's, and they talked about catcher, and they talked about Sean Murphy and Jonah Heim. Dude, this time last year, we were so pessimistic about backstop, about what we're going to be doing. We knew Sean was going to be good.
Well, because we didn't fully. Well, we knew he was going to be good. We didn't fully know. We didn't really know what the potential was, and then we got to see it last year in a full season of it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh fuck, this guy's going to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, but right now they're saying this is arguably the best catching tandem in baseball.
Yeah. I saw that too, and I agree. I mean, depth wise, yeah. I 100%.
Yeah, like there's obviously catchers better than Sean Murphy right now. But the two of them together, it's pretty, and it's kind of a bummer because I remembered when Fagley was released, I was like, shit, like we're not ready to, the organ, like catchers is not ready to kind of take on the spurt and for like a full-time role.
Yeah.
And little did we know they did. So anyway, Josh had a great career. And
had an arm for days. He threw people out like crazy.
Days.
It was insane.
But now it's going to go to some more somber stuff. Chris, we have a new member of the former Oakland great Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Hit the music. Joaquim Soria. Oakland, 2019, 2020. He pitched in 99 games.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah. 2019, he had a 4.3 ERA. And then last year, 2.82. Part of the stellar back end of the rotation last year. He signed a 1-year deal to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but here's the more startling number about it. The A's are now 0-7 on free agents on the team. There's 4 players left: Mike Fiers, Yusmeiro Petit, TJ McFarland, and Jake Lamb. What are we doing, man?
I just don't know how they expect to fill these roles. I mean, Joaquim, I think we saw that one coming after the Marcus and La Stella debacle. They're going to try and fill those reliever spots in house, but I don't know. I mean, which I feel a little bit better about bullpen, next man up, but it would have been nice to bring him back. And it sounded like we thought they were interested. Same with Petit. If Petit doesn't retire too, who knows? He's pretty old.
He.
So I don't know.
have the numbers.
I don't know. I don't expect anything, Julio. That's the thing. Like that, you can feel the somber in my voice. Not somber, but the underwhelmingness in my voice. Because at this point, especially after the Marcus situation, like I just don't expect it. So like I'll be shocked if it happens. But when it doesn't happen, you're not going to get like an angered Chris anymore, because this is just who the shitbag that we have to deal with, the cheap billionaire shitbag that we have to deal with.
Remember how I joked the other day how like we're not paying anybody more than $3 million?
It's actually how it feels.
Yeah, no. Can you guess what his contract was? How much Soria signed with the D-backs?
Is it $3.1 million?
Got close. It was $3.5 million 1 year. And yeah, but no, you already kind of hit the nail on the head. If there's anywhere we can kind of afford to lose the guys, it was going to be the bullpen. Oh, they turned off the Tom Brady thing in the background.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what I was
noticed
just
that.
noticing. I was looking back at that.
Maybe at midnight they turned it off or something.
Yeah, probably.
Um, yeah, if there's anywhere we can afford to lose those guys, it would be in the bullpen. There's some people we have in the minors who are ready to go. There's also a couple minor moves that they made that could see some potential to be in the bigs for us.
Yeah.
But it's just it was nice to have that veteran in the back of the pen.
If we keep losing more and more bullpen guys, does that entice you more to, if you're Bob Melvin, to maybe AJ Puck bullpen is the right place for him to try and fill those roles with just at least some talent, and you can use talent to get you through that instead of experience?
It's not a bad idea. We've talked about this a lot. Like we've been talking about this since October. We kind of just have to see what happens with the rest of the rotation.
I think if they bring back Mike Fiers, that's a sign.
Yeah, and from all intents and purpose, there's been a couple of quotes from Fiers who's like he wants to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reality is he's somebody who probably could be back. He's never been an outstanding pitcher, but he's definitely been a pretty consistent guy.
2019, he was really good. I would disagree. He was phenomenal.
It seems like he's only gotten better. And then last season, again, 2020 is a weird season. You can't really judge guys too much off of it.
Yeah.
If you can fill that rotation with guys who not necessarily on the same level as AJ Puck, but people can be pretty serviceable in those roles, then shit, why not kick the tires and see what you can get out of him in the bullpen?
Mm-hmm.
And then halfway through the season, if you think he's ready to start, move one of the guys to the pen or see if you can trade one of those starters. But if they can't bring back Petit or McFarland, then it's going to start getting like, oh shit, we were running out of arms kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Joaquim Soria, Pride of Mexico. Awesome. But guess what? We kind of made moves, I guess.
Yeah, if minor league moves count as moves, sure.
Yeah. Carlos Perez, who, when I told Chris, his reaction was, who the hell was that? If you don't remember, Carlos Perez was a part of the Angels for a few years back in 2015, 2017. And then he went to the Braves. He's a catcher. They signed him to a 1-year minor league incentive deal, pretty much a minor spring training, more or less a veteran presence for for Heim and Murphy. I'm a little confused about it. We just were talking about how if there's anywhere the A's are pretty solidified in, that they're pretty confident going into the season, it is a catcher. And it kind of reminds me a little bit, to bring in our football background, it reminds me when the Raiders signed Jason Witten, which was like Darren Waller is pretty much established as like one of the best tight ends of football, and then Foster Monroe
has been good.
Yeah. So why even waste a potential spot on that position? Is it because and even post when Jason Witten announced his retirement a few weeks ago, a lot of the Raiders players came out and like really praised him. So who knows, man? Maybe the org might know something a little bit more about Carlos Perez, who they can provide some veteran presence and kind of teach these guys a little bit more, even though, you have multiple former big league catchers in your organization as managers and coaches. I don't get it. I really don't get it. If you're, and to top it off, we haven't talked about Austin Allen as a backstop as well. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't. That was the other thing that I texted you as well. Like, who's that? And like, I don't understand, because it feels like we have such a solid like catching core and 2 young guys, and also Austin Allen behind that, if as like Jonah Heim insurance. So like none of this makes sense to me. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he'll never play. He'll hang out in the minors for a while, and cool. Like, I don't really have much more to say on it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're wondering, we should. I feel like that's gonna be an ongoing bit. If he's in the A's price range, if it's below $3 million,
He was,
you're going to be
wasn't it 1 million or something?
You're going to be in Oakland A. It was. Let me see right here. $650,000 salary if he makes it to the majors.
Yeah, sweet.
So John Fisher was probably like, "Ooh, that's a little tight."
Maybe 1.5 million should be the new threshold.
Maybe. But yeah, interesting move. They also made a trade for, this is somebody that is a little more compelling. I'm gonna pull up his numbers as we're talking. I was gonna say Kyle Turley, but no, that's not the former lineman from the Rams. Nick Turley, acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates, because again, the Pirates are actually just a huge Ponzi scheme. He is a reliever. Not much is known about him. He pitched last year, but he had 25 appearances. He had a 4.9 ERA. He wasn't great in the majors. If anything, I think what the A's are probably looking into was his 2017 minor season. He pitched 92 innings, had a 2.5 ERA, 124 strikeouts, 1.01 whip.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about these, and there's somebody else we're going to talk about in a minute, just these random pitchers who no names, kind of find them like you're in the rotation. The A's do a fantastic job of developing these guys. So there's potential with them. Do you have anything else? Like,
yeah, I think he could be a solid potential bullpen guy, which we need those guys in the as much as we can right now, being that we're letting all of them go. But that was another one when you text me, I was like, okay, cool. Do we need to really talk about this much on the podcast? And you're like, not really. You know what I mean? It's just, it's more just like, it's wait and see. Like, just like Jonah Hill says in Moneyball, Boston's going to wait and see. Well, the A's are going to wait and see. And we'll see how they pan out. And honestly, I don't know anything about them to give like an educated opinion on our podcast. I feel like I'd be doing our listeners a disservice to try and talk about them. I haven't even read anything on them.
Yeah, I haven't. I'll be honest. When I heard the news, I didn't know either. I did a little bit of research. So he was out, and he was injured in 2018 and 2019, so he didn't pitch those couple seasons. And then last year, he just wasn't great. But a couple.
2017, 20. Oh no, 2018, 2019. Okay,
yeah. But from what I've read, he's got some decent heat on his curveball. Anytime you can get somebody in the back of the rotation or in the pen who is going to be throwing heat, then hell yeah, you're going to take it. And he's a lefty. The A's love their lefties in the back of the bullpen. Our potential. And also another thing you got to think about: who was Jake Diekman? You remember when we needed a bullpen arm in 2019, and they got Jake Diekman, and we were like,
we traded for him, right? Yeah.
They traded for him.
He had a shit ton of holds. That was what he was known for.
Yeah, and he wasn't great in 19, and it was weird because like we saw some potential. We saw that he had some pretty good velocity on his fastball, but he didn't look good. And now this guy is probably going to be our closer next season, and he was arguably the best reliever last year. So they know what they're doing. If there's anything I feel confident about what the team is doing, it's that.
When it comes to pitching, yes.
Yeah, when it comes to pitching. One last thing before we move on from him, though. High school, pretty prestigious Southern California baseball high school, Harvard Westlake.
That is a very prestigious high school baseball program. Nolan Arenado and Matt Chapman.
Yeah. No, Matt Chapman was in I
thought they went to Westlake.
Hold on. I think Harvard Westlake, I want to say, is like Trevor Bauer, Garrett Cole.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Lucas Giolito, Max Fried, Jack Flaherty, all Harvard Westlake.
A lot of good pitchers from there too.
Yeah,
Wow.
Southern California, man. They know how to breed their pitchers. And they made one more move for the pitching. They got Cole Irvin. Again, who? Get a little insight. 27-year-old lefty from Anaheim, California. They got him from the Philadelphia Phillies. One thing I really wanted to talk about with him. He pitched in the bigs last year, 3 games, terrible, 17 ERA. Pitched to 19 in the bigs, terrible, 16 games, 5.83 ERA. But minor league career is where you really want to look out for. 2017, he was in Double-A and then in Single-A plus. He had 3.39 ERA. 2018 in Triple-A Philly, he had a 2.57 ERA. And then in 2019, he had a 3.94 ERA. He is a starter. We'll see. This could be somebody that could potentially be like that 5-6 guy in the rotation.
He's gonna have a tough battle to make that rotation. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, we'll see if Mike Fiers is like, hey, I'm looking for 3.1 million, and John Fisher's like, oh shit, I don't have it, man.
Well, there's a pretty talented guy named AJ Puck that didn't play last year who's probably going to look for a starting spot. That's what I'm getting to, unless he goes to bullpen.
Dude, this guy's 6'4". Damn, it's a big boy. But yeah, I wish, honestly, guys, I wish we could kind of talk about these moves a little bit more and kind of can talk about what they can bring. But honestly, it's such a limited,
pretty underwhelming on the Oakland side, folks.
Pretty underwhelming. Really, only we can really talk about is what they've done in the minors, and then what the potential of having the coaching organization can do with them. There's not really much you can do with that. But if anything, these guys are the bread and butter of the organization. These are pitching is what the A's really do well when it comes to getting these no names off the street.
We're also talking about this like we don't already have like a stacked rotation, which we do.
Exactly.
So it's like these are also moves that aren't relevant because they're not going to be in there. These are potential maybe bullpen moves. These aren't guys. These guys. I don't think we're going to get anybody in the offseason that's going to be better than Luzardo, Minaya, Montaz, and Bassett. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, it's probably, yeah. We don't have to undersell it. If you're an A's fan, you know how stacked our rotation is and how it's probably one of the best in the league.
Absolutely. And I was talking about this with my brother, Lias. Shout out, Lias. As like shitty these last few weeks have been as an A's fan when it came to the players we've lost and all that. And this is still a pretty good team.
Yeah, I just don't know if we're World Series bound like we were before. That's what's disheartening. But yeah, we're a playoff team 1,000%.
Yeah,
in a division that keeps getting worse, it feels like.
The only way I can see them being a World Series team is if the Mets are like MVP caliber.
Which is possible. And Luzardo is an all-star, and Sean Murphy is an all-star, and yeah. Yeah.
Like the pieces are there. The pieces of what can make this team really great, we have them there. Like you said, Murphy and Laureano, patrolling center, Canna on a contract year could be big. And this is still a really good. This is still a pretty good team. It's just like at the end of the day, we're not going to have the firepower to hold up in a full series, and they're not going to make a move for that firepower. Yeah. So it's disheartening.
Definitely.
We're going to be finishing up, but before we do, we're going to be talk about a couple. We didn't have a chance to talk about it yet. A couple Major League Baseball legends. We've now lost something about 10 Hall of Famers in the last calendar year. Don Sutton, former Dodger great, also pitched for the A's in 1985, passed away at the age of 75. He was a four-time All-Star. Spent majority of his career wearing Dodger blue, and was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1998. But we lost an absolute titan of baseball. One of the most greatest and most important players ever, Hank Aaron, passed away at 86 years old. You all know about him. Just want to throw out some numbers. 25-time All-Star, which is what the fuck?
Yep.
World Series champ and MVP in 1957. 755 career home runs, was the all-time home run king when he
Depending
retired.
on how you want to look at it, all-time home run champion. Yeah.
Yep. And then Hall of Fame class of 1985. This one hurt a lot, man.
Yeah, I think my first response to you when we texted about it was the two greatest hitters of all time are now dead, which yes, they're both old, but still, which is him, in my opinion, at least, him and Ted Williams. So that sucks. I think Hank Aaron's impact on the game, playing in the Jim Crow South, growing up there as well, playing for a fan base in Atlanta that was widely like that, kind of like forced that demographic to accept people like him and stars like him. His memorable record-breaking home run when the two dudes are running around the bases with him, I think says a lot about what the impact that he had on that city. Two white dudes who are running around the bases with him. Another funny little tidbit, I told Julio about that he didn't know. That was Craig Sager's first interview as a sideline reporter. He interviewed
Shout out.
Yeah, he interviewed Hank Aaron right after he hit that home run, which was pretty cool. He was working for a local station down in Atlanta. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
He just means so much to the game. He's one of the greatest hitters of all time, and he's gone now.
Yeah, it's been a pretty sad year, really, when it came to just all these legends we've lost, and him. He's just, this guy is a god in baseball, and honestly though, the fact that we were decades before being born, and we know so much about him. His legacy will always be around. He'll be, and there's an award, the Hank Aaron Award, it's named after him. Now, there's some people who are trying to get a petition started to change the name of the Braves because of, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
and change the name to the Atlanta Hammers after Hank Aaron. It's honestly
Hammer and Hank,
and also MC Hammer, former Oakland bat boy.
Yeah, but
his nickname.
But he has nothing to do with the Braves.
Who?
MC Hammer.
No, but the reason he got the nickname Hammer was because when he was a bat boy for the A's, they used to say he looked like a young Hank Aaron.
Oh, really?
So they used to call him. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he was the bat boy, Reggie Jackson was the one that gave him the nickname.
That's
he
cool.
looked like a little Hank Aaron. So they used to call him Hammer. Cool. So yeah, that's why I'm like, wow, I'll didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I wouldn't call myself, although he's from Oakland, I wouldn't call myself a MC Hammer extraordinaire. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't blame you there in that one. But last but not least, Dick Callahan, the A's PA announcer since 2005. He stepped into the role that he succeeded Roy Steele, who is also a Titan, who we refer to as the voice of God, and picked up right where he left off. It has been amazing. He passed away on January 22nd at the age of 80. Before a lot of, I know him mostly because of the A's, but before he was a part of the A's organization, as the PA announcer there. He was a Golden State Warriors PA announcer from 1981 till 2000. So somebody who has some really
he's been around.
Yeah, Bay Area roots.
A lot like Bill King, yeah. Some Bay Area roots kind of tied to a lot of teams. Yeah.
Absolutely. He actually, I'm sure you all know, but he actually set out this past season in 2020 due to some health concerns. He actually had a health issue and decided it was best for him to not call the season. And unfortunately, we were cool. He's going to be coming back in 2021, and unfortunately, he passed away. It was really enough. This came the same week as Marcus leaving and as Tommy LaStella leaving, and just us being frustrated with John Fisher. And then this happened. This was a horrible week.
Yeah,
not much else to add. But
I don't know. My personal favorite is now batting third baseman Eric Chavez. Just like the way, I don't want to say it too loud.
Yeah.
In a hotel, but just the way he would kind of like finish off Chavez, and I don't know. Yeah, he just felt like the Coliseum to me. He just felt like home. So I don't know. It's going to be weird going to a game and not hearing his voice and hearing him say the batting order. And then occasionally when a kid says the batting order in like the third inning or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be weird not hearing that for sure. It's a tough one.
And now for the umpiring crew at behind home plate, Angel Hernandez. Ooh. Oh no!
Yeah.
We had a running list of some of the favorites. So just some of the favorite names I'd love to hear. Super random, but Kevin Kuzma.
That's a good one. It's a classic.
Yep. Mike Gallego. Mm-hmm. Kurt Suzuki. And then shout out to Xavier for this one, Xavier Bejarano. Chris.
Yep, that's a great one too. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Can we just have some good news? Can we just have some good news for A's?
Hopefully next time we talk to you listeners, we'll have some good news. Maybe we shouldn't pod. Maybe we shouldn't pod until we hear some good news. Nah.
This is our venting pod.
Yeah.
This is how we vent.
This one is the last one.
Yeah, exactly. But condolences to his family, friends, the organization. Absolute titan. Yeah, man. That's absolutely.
So that'll I think that'll end it for us then, right, Julio?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. We get the news that Trevor Bauer signs with the A's, and then we can.
Or some good news, just any good news, and then hopefully that'll be a bright spot to our next podcast. But we will be back soon. Spring training is going to start up soon, so we'll be potting more often. Once spring training comes, maybe every 2 weeks or something, and then once the season starts, regular every week. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and last but not least, Julio.
Let's go, Oakland!
The Town Tailgate is an independently produced podcast. It is written and executive produced by this guy, Chris Madrigal, and my partner in crime, Julio Reynoso. It is sound mixed and edited by yours truly. Social media management and marketing is run by, once again, my partner, Julio Reynoso. And a special thanks and shout out to my brother, Larry Madrigal, for composing and producing our theme song, as well as graphic designing our album cover and artwork. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next week. Please subscribe. And last but not least, as we always say, let's go, Oakland.